And we're live. Welcome to the Best in Slot podcast, a Warcraft podcast by the community for the community. I'm your main host, Sparty, and I'm here with my co-host, Midgettes. This is episode 23, and today we'll be talking about the MDIs, PAX East, which was a super fun time, developer interviews, community thoughts on some of the, the fun GCD changes, my interview with Morgan Day, which, if you haven't already found it, it's already on Best Slot playlist on YouTube and iTunes and all that fun stuff. But hello, how are you, Midgets? It's been a while. It's been a long couple of weeks.
It's been 2 weeks. I've actually had some quiet Sundays, and then you came back.
You had some downtime, huh? I hope you had a nice vacation because now Sparty's back and now it's time to work.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that today.
Oh man, yeah. It's been a busy couple of days. It's been tax stuff and it's been all kinds of work all over the place. So.
Well, so why don't you start it off since we haven't had one of your wonderful, fantastic, great dad jokes for a couple of weeks. Why don't you start off with that?
I like how you sort of put me on the spot there and how you really built up this whole dad joke segment. That is much appreciated, that these dad jokes are getting the respect and attention they deserve. So I'll tell you about my neighbors. And I always thought my neighbors were nice people until they put a password on their Wi-Fi.
Oh my!
Right? Right?
Those horrible people.
But no, it's been an awesome last couple 2 weeks. PAX has come and gone, and it's been it's been a great time hanging out with a lot of friends and a lot of other podcasters, the Starting Zone dudes. We'll talk about it all today. I mean, it was great. I guess the new big thing, though, is something that we've all been excited for, is the new Hearthstone expansion, right? Have you played any of it?
Oh, heavens, no. No, I'm off doing beta things and leveling tunes. I saw you were open like 70 decks or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I had enough BattleNet balance through all the sales that we did over the years. I'm like, okay, I'll buy 70 packs, whatever. And I mean, I loved it. It's, new expansion, new cool things, new decks. It's been fun. I mean, I opened legendaries or the packs a couple nights ago. Got, I don't know, 4 legendaries or something, crafted some more. I've been playing this even paladin deck, which I've enjoyed. Normally I play a mage, but paladins is sort of true to my bloodline, and I've enjoyed playing that, and it's been good. It's been a good time waster. But the issue I have with any kind of, and this is, I guess, a bit of a Warcraft thing, the issue I have with super competitive things is once I get to a high enough rank, I get a little bit of anxiety. I get a little bit of nervousness, right? Like it's getting to, to ranks, 13, whatever, 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 5. And I get really nervous about losing, and I don't like losing, especially at those ranks. And, I can get tilted pretty easily if I lose a game or two. So I have to be careful on how I play. And the same thing with PvP, or same thing with playing, first-person shooters, which is why I don't do that really competitive stuff anymore. I don't know. The old man in me just can't handle the competitiveness.
Well, we still have the phases of Sparty, so I'm not worried about it.
No.
So tell me a little bit about what happened, because I don't play a lot of Hearthstone. What happens when there's a new expansion? Is it just new cards or what?
Yeah, so there's new cards. They shuffle some of the other cards out, and basically, I think it's only the original set plus the last 2 years of cards are eligible in their current standard format. So that way they constantly rotate, through new different types of deck types and combinations, and obviously, get some good money out of all of us suckers that are, getting these packs. So it's been good.
Well, I have a few decks. They're fun to open. That's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, it is fun. It's like, oh, legendary or golden something, right? And it's been good.
Right. Some awesome graphics. All right. Well, the big stuff has been obviously the alpha for BFA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not going to call it that other name. It's a silly name.
Bifa?
I heard some more.
You don't like calling it Bifa? Like Towley calls it Bifa and Muffet called it Bifa?
Yeah, I'm not on the Bifa board. There you go. But there have been some more invite waves.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they had their first kind of a stress test so you could get in and see the first raid.
Yep.
Did you hear anything about that?
I have not. I know a number of our guildies did. I think Tally was there and a number of guildies were able to show up. Not sure in terms of what actual raid testing was done, but I mean the premise of it was to really stress test the the raid and dungeon servers and the servers themselves to see any issues that may come up long term for when they actually do test the abilities of the bosses and the content and that kind of stuff. I haven't heard much. I also haven't followed up much, nor have I done these tests in a while. Ever since I've had that sort of full-time gig, I haven't been able to do as much testing as I'd like to.
Well, unfortunately, the testing's in the middle of the workday, so it makes it hard to get on and test it.
Well, I mean, part of it makes sense though, right? Because that's when the Blizzard employees are working. That's sort of prime time for them. A Friday evening where you're not going to get much done on a Friday. Let's go test some raids or do whatever, and that's fine, right? Like that's sort of the best use of your Friday afternoon, which is also why they're not having them on well, I guess they're sort of EU friendly times, but Pacific or North American more friendly time when everybody's home in the evenings, right? The purpose is for the developers to be at work when they're testing all this stuff.
Well, I think it was pretty brave to test it on Friday the 13th, don't you?
I don't know. I mean, from what I hear, Friday the 13th is just as rare as Thursday the 12th, but who am I? I'm not a mathematician or an astrophysicist.
Was that another dad joke? Oh my goodness.
That was a Neil deGrasse Tyson joke from...
Well, they did finally confirm when our legendaries are no longer. I'm losing my cloak. I'm so sad.
Oh, the crutch cloak.
Don't call it's my FM cloak. It is not that. That sounds nasty. You be nice. But I will no longer be able to use it after level 116.
Well, so what does that mean? We'll not be able to use it, or what? Because
I still use it, but all of the benefits of it will be disabled.
Right. So that's what I've heard as well. So at 116, I mean, even though it's a great item level and it'll eventually be replaced, by the time we're 120 as we're leveling through it, like every other expansion, the effects will be disabled because otherwise they'd be quite strong. Still into the leveling thing, and you obviously don't want to go back and farm legendaries, from the previous expansion for current content. What I heard the exception being Aman'Thul because it was not typed as a specific legendary, but I'm sure that's going to be fixed, and it'll be just like the other legendaries where, the procs won't work at 116 or higher.
Okay, does anybody have Aman'Thul's?
I'm sure somebody's alt has it, right?
Right? I mean, there's only a few people in both guilds, I think, that have it.
Mm-hmm. Those lucky
One of them's a rogue who puts it in his bank because it's useless to him.
Isn't that funny? Those fun legendaries. Well, what fun stuff have we had from Wowhead, right? They had some new...
They've been doing some really incredible things. Matter of fact, you've got it on your screen. The Twitch character extension for Twitch is just awesome. Why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I don't know who came up with this, but they finally released this really awesome Twitch extension. So for those of you that are watching live or going to watch the VOD, whatever, you may be able to use it from the VODs as well. But essentially at the top right section of my screen, there is a little Twitch extension that shows the armory, talents, that kind of stuff. And it shows my character. So whichever character I'm currently playing, it shows the gear, talents, all that stuff set up, which is pretty awesome because it's an interactive window, right? While you're watching the stream, you can actually click on things on the stream and they will pop up for you. That is amazing. Like, what an age we live in streaming and everything else. Like, that's such a cool feature, and wow, it's done an amazing job with it. I hope they come up with some really some other really cool stuff.
I think it's really cool, and it's nice because once people get used to it, if they want to see what talents you're using or what gear you have, and even if you look at the gear, you can actually click on it and it'll take you to a website and show you where the gear drops.
Oh,
you won't have anything to answer.
That's exactly. I'll just be playing my game and not do anything. But that's the worst part. Like, I mean, that's the best part of streaming is interacting with chat and people asking questions and some silly questions and just dealing with everything. Like that's the best part. And I've had a little week where on top of my screen that normally shows talents, gear, legendaries that I'm running, but this Twitch interaction is even better than that. Like it's pretty cool.
It is. Well, and the other fun thing that they came out that I was excited about is they've actually come out with a guide for all of the secrets of Legion.
Oh.
So you can, whether it's the nightmare, the unicorn mount. What was that?
Oh yeah, the Riddler whatever mount. Yeah, I'm just looking at this now. This is pretty cool. They got all the hidden secrets of Legion, as if Legion's gonna go away in a month. Like we still have what, 4 months left, but this is pretty cool. Yeah, the Lucid Nightmare mount, the Riddler's Mind Worm, the Fathom Dweller mount. I haven't done half of these things, but this is awesome. What a great little compendium of toys and achievements and artifact stuff, class specific rewards. That's pretty cool. You know,
Right. Well,
I do love achievements, right? So this is a great little thing for me to do, and I've been looking for, you know, where Ted and Marius's excellent adventure, because I love Bill and Ted, obviously. Um, yeah, like where the rest of these achievements are, but that's pretty cool. That's great. It's a great
it
little
is
guide.
great.
I'll link it there in chat for
It's
people.
it's a lot of fun, and they're starting to come out with more things to, designed towards the end of the X Pack.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have all the things you want to do before the end of the X Pack in preparation for BFA. We're heading into those summer months, and
The summer months.
cleaning up. Oh yes, cleaning things up, and mine's not going to be as free because my son's getting married, but it's definitely a lot of fun stuff, and I really liked that guide, so I thought we should get it out there. And then I guess we get to the big topic, and we've had all kinds of different opinions, and most of them very strong. Apparently, the GCD change has made the forefront of all discussions this week.
Yeah, and so for those of you unfamiliar with what the GCD, so GCD means global cooldown. Basically, all of your abilities, or most abilities, are on a global cooldown, right? So you can't just spam it. Like, the quicker you hit your buttons, the quicker things go off, because there needs to be a bit of a buffer time in between some abilities. The issue is that a lot of the cooldowns, and this is the argument that a lot of players are making, is that the cooldowns that we have, let's say as a DPS warrior, let's say you're a Swifty, right? And Swifty's got his Swifty macro. Basically, you slam your fist on the keyboard, it hits all your cooldowns, you one-shot this guy, and it's done, right? The change that's happening is essentially all abilities, all cooldowns will now be on the global cooldown, which means something like, you hit your, if you're a paladin, for instance, your Avenging Wrath, and then your Aura Mastery, and your Holy Avenger, and whatever else you're popping, you have to go from 1, 2, 3, 4. So it slows down the game a little bit. There's arguments where, it's really clunky. It's Kira of Temerity, the guy that has made Warcraft logs. He had a really good tweet here. It says, "Not a fan of this GCD change. Warcraft's responsiveness sets it apart from other games. Changes like this make it feel more like Final Fantasy. Very sluggish. Not a good thing." It's a good opinion there. Kib, which, we all love Kib from Demon Hunter and SBK, nerfing the mobility of all specs by adding sprints and most movement abilities to the GCD, increasing the 1/4 GCD to half a GCD. People can stop complaining about mobility because no one has any mobility. And so the big thing that's not been on the global cooldown is always your interrupts, because your interrupts, you just sometimes need to make that split second decision and interrupt that cast or interrupt whatever it is. So there's not a lot of fans of GCD, the GCD change. Why don't we start? Why don't you tell me what you think about the GCD change? What is your opinion? Before I go into what the developers said to me, what do you think?
Well, I'm one of these people that nobody likes, because I have a lot of faith in the Warcraft devs. And they haven't really let me down. There's been a few things here or there that I've come back and said, oh, that was just horrible, and they fixed it. But generally, when we're reacting to these things, we're only reacting based on what we're seeing out of 1/10 of the information. And I assume that they have a whole big plan in place that will make it feel less clunky. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to guess it's probably going to be around the Azerite armor or something along those lines, but maybe not. But until I get in and actually get to play with it in a live raid environment, I sort of wait and see, and I don't get really upset. So Wowhead had a poll, and I was one of the poor 17% that said I didn't care.
That's where, the sample size in that poll was 4,500 people, right? So 9%, like the GCD changes. 22% only offensive cooldown should be on the global cooldown. 51% no cooldown should be on the global cooldown. And 17% said, I don't care. And me personally, I don't care. I mean, I you know what? I reserve to make an opinion yet until I've really tested it. My gut feeling is, yeah, it's going to slow down things, and playing a Holy Paladin, when you hit your Holy Shocks into your Infusion of Lights and you hit a Light of the Martyr, there's like a really good flow in it, right? It's this up and down sort of fluid motion of healing. To put things sort of like in a queue as they sort of were years and years ago, where you're waiting for the next spell and you're waiting for the next spell. There's arguments. Zarania, one of our guildies, made an argument of you need to make that skill ceiling high enough for players where good players can play really, really well, but the skill floor, is potentially raised by, by the newer players being able to catch on to, the rotations and things like that. When I spoke to the developer, Morgan Day, regarding this change, basically said, they want to move away from, all these cooldowns being hit at once, and they want to make each of your button presses more meaningful, right? So, and he told Swifty this too, get rid of the Swifty macro, whereas, if you're setting up something as like an elemental shaman and they have a long sort of ramp up phase for their damage, if you get a proc or if something happens in the middle of your sort of rotation, you should intelligently be able to adjust on the fly, right? Rather than spamming the crap out of your abilities, each of your button presses should be much more meaningful. And that argument could go both ways, and I'm sure our Twitch viewers will feel the same way. But the big issue, and I know some of the viewers already have mentioned this, it's cooldowns. It's the amount of cooldowns, and part of it is partly pruning. They've pruned away abilities, they've brought them back, more class fantasy. I think it's gotten to the point where there's too many cooldowns, and likely what we're going to see in the long-term future is fewer cooldowns. So you will not see your Aura Master, your Avenging Wrath as a Holy Paladin, your Holy Avenger, whatever else, your Tears Deliverance, 4 or 5 different cooldowns that are typically, you're running a 2-3 minute period, but you're going to see one cooldown, let's say every 2 minutes, right? And yeah, you could make the argument for it's simplifying the game, but at the same time, it could make the use of those cooldowns much more important. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of different arguments for and against it.
It's early yet.
Yeah, it's still early.
Here's the thing: the community is very, very vocal, and they feel very passionately about it. Mm-hmm. And I've seen the developers do listen. Now I want to go back, and I'm going to touch on listening because I've got something else in the background that has my attention at the moment, and it's sometimes, even if you've been listened to, sometimes the answer you don't like, and it's still no. And sometimes we encounter that as Warcraft players within our teams, within our guilds, and within Warcraft themselves. Mm-hmm. They see the whole picture. They don't just see this one section. And so I tend to sort of go with, yeah, they haven't really let me down yet. I still get on and play and have for many years. Mm-hmm. I also don't play at a highly competitive level. So that does make a difference, because if it takes 2 more seconds for me to, while I'm off piddling around, it isn't going to make me mad. It's going to annoy me more in raid. But I have faith in the people like Kib and the Warcraft Logs people and all of these people who sit there and do the numbers, mm-hmm. that they're going to come back with really thoughtful reasonings behind what they want after they get done being mad, of course. Right now, they're just mad.
Yeah, and with good reason. I mean, people are very passionate about this game, and that's why the feedback is important. A lot of these theory crafters, they're also the ones playing the game. Obviously, Blizzard does play their own game too, and a number of other games. So I'm sure they're seeing, they're seeing different avenues of it. So to touch on what you said, they see, all sides of it. How better could they, to the community, explain some of these changes? And I talked to Sloopbag about this on my PAX stream. Would there be a better tool of communicating these ideas and thoughts and philosophies prior to the changes? or sort of what happened with with the GCD and like personal a little bit different, that they explain the changes after they happen. Oh, you may have noticed that all the abilities are now on the GCD. Have fun. These are the reasons why. Is there a better methodology or a better way to communicate those things?
Well, it would be nice if they came out before the data mining, because usually that's
Yeah,
what
those
brings
data
it
miners.
out.
Yeah.
Is once the data miners get access to it, and we've had it with a lot of things. People react to the one or two sentences that are pulled out of the data mine. The one thing I remember from Eon on one of the question and answers that he did
Mm-hmm.
is he was going to push back on everybody needing to know everything and sort of wasn't going to answer it. And when he said that, that was in regards to Amanthols. And so sometimes I think that they don't answer that because some of it you actually have to see. But I would like to see it come out before it's quote unquote leaked through the data mining, because the data mining doesn't give all the answers and they're the ones on the hot seat. So I would personally would like them to say before it makes it to the beta or the alpha, we're doing this. This is why we're doing it. And then it can come out on the data mining. And we've already heard their side. Sometimes proactive response versus reactive response is a better way to go.
Yeah, and I think I would agree there. You and a number of the other viewers are saying the same thing, right? Like, if data miners reveal it first, it's, well, Blizzard's in the hot seat of like, well, why is this happening? And if Blizzard doesn't respond, people start making up their own rumors. Oh, it's for PvP changes. Oh, they're nerfing or Master Loot because of split runs, and it's all like one big rumor mill that has no substance, right? So yeah, getting ahead of this, would be a great thing, and maybe it's the miscommunication that does happen somewhat. I don't know, uncommonly on Blizzard's end. It could definitely be much improved in terms of, well, let us know what's happening, what your thoughts are. You're testing these things, and they have done that in the past, right? There's been plenty of, well, we're testing this stuff out. Let us know how it works, etc. Right? This is one of those ones that they really probably should have gotten ahead of, rather than dealing with the huge backlash from the community afterwards. And yeah, I'm sure people would have been just as vocal, or maybe a little bit less vocal after the fact, but it would have been great to communicate it ahead of time too. So we'll see. I mean,
yeah, we'll see. But what I think what happens there is it's like watching it's taken out of context,
mm-hmm.
and people, they may still not like it, but when it comes out through the data mining, it does. It seems like they're hiding it, or woo, surprise.
Oh, there's
Well,
nothing
I'm
you can
not
hide.
surprised, and I don't. Hey, they hid those. You want to talk about hiding? They hid those holiday glasses. I'm still mad about that. So we all have our passions. Just remember that.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And when I talk to developers of like, well, you're going to set up this entire GCD rotation, a warrior's recklessness or a shaman's whatever only lasts so many seconds. So how much use are they getting out of an ability like this that, let's say that lasts 10 seconds, but you're spending 4 GCDs hitting your cooldowns in a row, so you're only getting 6 seconds out of it? Well, they said, that stuff's easy to change. Like, that stuff is super, like, just add 10 more seconds of recklessness, not a big deal. That kind of stuff they're really open to, but, I think this is the way they're sort of going to go long term. Along with personal, right? That sort of was confirmed as well for a number of different reasons. It wasn't for split raids. It was, that's for the overall health of the game. But again, feedback's important. You're going to be listened to, but listen, they may not agree with it, right? They may not say, hey, this lady Midgettes is got her own opinion, but we're going to go with this way, right? We've listened to her. We're going to go a different way. Thanks. And maybe if enough people say it, then maybe, but there's also that very vocal minority. There's the people that don't say anything, right, and they're totally happy with the changes, right? There's the 70% that don't care, but is that really indicative of the community? I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the cooldowns.
But the fun part of the week was the MDI. Did you get to watch any of it so far?
I did. I saw part of them last night. I got home last night from my hockey awards, and I saw Nagura salute the Chinese team's doing a bunch of the different mythics. That was awesome. I mean, they did a great job. Salute Lore. You guys know the whole shirt fiasco with Salute and Lore. Lore's going to have a shirt that says, what was it? I can't remember what the comment was. I'm trying to remember now. Right you are. Yeah, right you are is what Salute says. Whenever you guys are watching MDIs now, listen to this. He will say, right you are. And then, you know, have the thumbs up. So Nagura says something, and then he says, oh, right you are. And then he goes on to his own little thing. The same way Lore in his interviews always goes, oh yeah, sounds good, makes sense. And then he goes into a whole little tangent of how his shaman, you know, 5 years ago did this thing. And that's sort of the back and forth between, you know, Lore and whoever he's interviewing in terms of developer slots. But yes, I saw the MDIs. They're pretty good. There was that team no healer, right, which had no healers. Is that right?
Yeah, that was incredible to watch. The strategy on getting them out, though, was just incredible too. Did you see that one?
I did not. I did not see that one. Unfortunately, I'll have to go back.
So
to the video.
what happened is, I thought it was pretty impressive. They got as far as they did without a healer. But what happened is the team got to pick the dungeon and the affixes, and they picked all of these ones that you just, if you didn't have a healer, you were just toast, and they were toast, and that was the risk they took, and it was really interesting to watch. But it was very, I think they get kudos just for going in and trying to do it without a healer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of a calculated risk not running a healer. You're gonna have to, you know, I think the changes they made to the MDIs in terms of the tournament realms and the qualifying makes it much more interesting. It's not as niche or as it's not there just for the Mythic Raiders, but it's for everyone that has quite a bit of skill to do these things. And those guys, you know, clearly prove they're quite clever and have a lot of skill to compete in the MDIs. So that's interesting. I mean, it's great that people are able to, you know, counter that no healer comp. I think the last one I saw last night was it was Arcway with the Arcane Mage that was doing lots of damage, but they still had like 4 or 5 more deaths, and they lost by like 20-30 seconds. So it's interesting. I mean, yes, Arcane Mages were awesome, and they did massive amounts of damage, but I can't remember. I think that was, I think Skyline D took it, and Sun Sky or something had the Arcane Mage. I can't remember, but it was good. I mean, I love watching the MDIs. They're exciting. It's something different. You know, yeah, we have hockey playoffs going, but also MDIs are probably, you know, more worth watching than watching the Leafs lose to the Bruins right now.
Well, we've got another weekend of them next weekend, which I don't have the schedule in front of me. Do you know what division or area?
I think it's the APAC, so the Australian, the Asian division, and then I think it's Europeans and then North Americans. So, you know,
I can't wait. It'll be exciting. It'll be an exciting few weeks. So let's go ahead and jump into PAX East.
Oh, PAX.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was great. You know, yes, I always talk about, you know, myself and these kind of things, but PAX was an awesome time. It was my first PAX, so I never really knew what to expect. I heard there was video games and board games, and holy crap, was there a lot of people as well. It was a 4-day event, which is quite exhausting. I got there Thursday night at like 1 a.m., so obviously I missed the first day. Friday I got there, and it was busy. There was a lot of different booths, from the typical like Twitch, Discord booths. There was a big Warcraft section. I think this was their largest Warcraft's or first PAX sort of Warcrafting that they've ever done, which is awesome. They had a number of different machines there for testing. Everyone that went through the testing, so there's a bit of a 2-hour wait to go play the alpha. But you then opted your character, your account in, and you were guaranteed access in these next couple of waves for the alpha and beta, which is awesome. But it was obviously worth or like a 2-hour wait. Plus, you got a really cool Alliance or Horde pin. I've got mine somewhere here, but it was great. Lots of really cool games. Did you give me one? So there was lots of other really cool games, and there's one of the really cool studios, 3D Realms. For those of you that are old school gamers, Commander Keen, I think it was Monster Mash, Duke Nukem, obviously, Shadow Warrior, lots of these old school games. I had no idea the studio was still around. Obviously, you know, Duke Nukem Forever took 10, 12 years, and was actually sold off to a different studio. But I had no idea these guys are around, and they're still using the same like Duke Nukem 3D engine for their, I don't know, Ion Plasma Lady something. It's another really cool game. Like lots of explosions, blood, gore, whatever. Old school 3D realm stuff that you would remember from old Duke Nukem days. For those of you that that are old school gamers like that. There was lots of board games, lots of Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, dice, tabletops, everything. Lots of different board games too in terms of just escape room type of games. There's actually an escape room there, which was really cool. So people had to solve it by getting themselves out of this chair, and it was really cool to watch people do it. I wish I took a video of it, but it was a really cool, it was a glass room where everyone was watching this one guy get out of the chair, connect the different wires, solve the puzzle, and get himself out, which is really cool. Again, people were awesome. Lots of games that I've never heard about, and this is something I talked about with some of the other guys, where 20 years ago there'd be like 3 or 4 games coming out, right? Like that would be it. There was a couple big studios, really no indie games, a couple like medium-sized games, but that was it. Now, like, there's hundreds of games coming out nonstop. Yeah, sure, a lot of them are early access, but there's so many games out there that it's so hard to keep track of what is going on. And, the attention span of, I guess, the average gamer is so low that you're just going from one game to another, from Sea of Thieves to Alpha to whatever else is the newest thing, from PUBG to Fortnite to Rust to the next, zombie garbage, whatever else there is. But no, PAX was awesome. Lots of walking around, great time, some decent cosplays as well. I expect a little bit more, but again, lots of cool stuff. It was different. It wasn't Warcraft based, Blizzard based, which I'm used to BlizzCons, but I don't know. It was a good one. Have you been at these conventions at all?
No, the only one I've gone to is BlizzCon, and I think I'm gonna probably, unless they bring one out closer to me, I'm probably gonna stick with BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Well, unless they did a whole table on Spyro, because I still like that retro game Spyro.
I tried to find like a Spyro station or a plate. I don't think they had anything like that. There was no Spyro the Purple Dragon thing. I'm like, maybe I'll get her a plushie, or I'll bring her, something. No.
But you didn't get me an Alliance pin. Is that why you dodged?
I've got, what do I have here? I've got a Pepe Velcro thing if you want it. I've got one of these Velcro things on my desk.
I can't believe you did not get me an Alliance pin. I'm crushed.
I've also got a Dark Moon Velcro thing. But it was good. I mean, PAX was great. I hung out.
You were going to say, you showed this picture of this tower of seafood. That thing looked incredible. What was that all about?
So the Friday night, the developers, so it was the two sort of big lead developers, a lot of the content creators. So there was Swifty, there was Tauntaun, there was another dude, I forget his name now. You guys know Panzer and Cinder, and Sloot wasn't there because he was at his other dinner. A number of the esports people and community managers were there. It was just one big dinner to thank us and take us all out, which was awesome, at a nice Boston restaurant. And Boston's got a beautiful city. I thought it'd be a very boring, typical American, like flags everywhere, whatever city. I'm Canadian, so it's that's very boring to me. Boston was a super beautiful city. We stayed in the Commons area, which I guess is super nice. Beautiful architecture, bricks, parks. Holy crap, was I impressed by Boston. I thought it'd be really crappy. And maybe the irony of the convention was, but Boston was beautiful. Anyway.
Well, I'm glad you approved of Boston, and, the rest of the city is in our flags. When you flew over Colorado, it's all plains and or all farmland. That's what you told me. It's all farmland.
Yeah, it's all farmland. Well, and some rocks, mountains.
So, well, it sounded like, and then the next day you jumped into the interview and streaming from PAX. How did that go? That was fun.
Wait, but the dinner.
Oh, you are still talking about.
I'm still about the dinner. Like, I love food. Okay, you have to understand. I love food. So there's a table of 10 of us, right? 2 tables of 10 or something, and we're like, okay, let's get some stuff. There's a big $90 seafood tower. I guess Blizzard's paying. I feel really bad because that's the Canadian in me. So we go to this big $90 seafood tower, which was awesome, really well done, with oysters and king crabs and shrimps and things like that. And like, oh, well, I'm going to get a surf and turf today. I want this, big ass filet mignon. And I'm like, okay, well, I want more. So I want definitely the side of lobster tail. And then, I want some kind of veggies. So some blue crab, asparagus. It was so good. It was just delicious food. And then, of course, there was the Twitch party afterwards, which was an awesome time. 80s themed, great music, lots of arcade video games. Probably one of the best Twitch parties I've been to. And of course, free drinks, which is my Achilles heel. And I was able to pace myself this time, which was great. And hung out with some old friends. Firemancer was there with his girlfriend.
And that headband. I was just going to talk about that headband.
The
That
80s
should have
headbands.
never been there.
Oh man. Well, it was good. They had an 80s cover band. I mean, it was a really good time in general. I don't know, bowling, arcade games. I got this sort of 80s lunchbox that my daughter now carries around, and she puts stuff inside. So I'm glad she's liked it.
What did you get? What 80s lunchbox did you get?
Yeah, I don't have it here, but it's an 80s. It says Twitch on it, right? Like it's got the retro 80s lettering and coloring. I don't know. It's a little metal lunchbox thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You'll have to show us a picture about it. All right. So are we done with the Twitch party and running into old
We're
friends?
done. We're done talking about food, and I love food. So go on.
Well, you were just making me hungry. So I was going to move on to the stuff that wasn't and going to make me hungry. So the next day was PAX Saturday, and you actually streamed for PAX for what, like 4 or 6 hours, something like that?
Yeah, it was awesome. I did get out of the hotel room around 11 a.m., which was great for me. And I'm like, okay, time to go get some food and lunch and get that stuff together. So we had this 4.5-hour segment of a stream from the Twitch booth, which had alpha. Unfortunately, I guess it just had the alpha. We had a lot of the questions, so I knew I was going to be interviewing one of the two developers, either Daniel Stahl, which is one of the lead producers, or Morgan Day, which is the lead encounter designer. And the lead encounter designer is the one that does anything that, throws stuff at you, shoots a fireball, punches you in the face, is basically an encounter, and that's his purview. So the raids, the dungeons, mythic pluses, some of the cool encounters, islands, that was all under him. And, a lot of our questions were more, towards him rather than the actual, overall mechanics of the game, or transmog related questions, or when Classic is coming out, because we just joked about Classic for a little bit, but it was great. I mean, Midgettes and Schurter compiled a lot of the questions that we here in Zeros to Heroes and on Twitter and in DJs had, so I was able to get a lot of them either online or offline answered and come back to the group here, which was great. And it was a great interview. It was, I don't know, good questions. Unfortunately, with the characters that I was running, I was not able to set up my keybinds in time, because basically my interview started at 2, and Morgan Day was there from 2 until 3. So I'm like, okay, let's just get you on here. Let's have me doing some islands or whatever. Tally was there to help tank an island for me. And none of my keybinds were set up, so I was sort of a click healing everything. I was doing so poorly. And I'm telling this guy, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm a mythic, raid lead. I've been doing this for 13, 14 years. Like, I'm normally not this bad. Because I had died multiple times, but I just told him he was distracting me the entire time with his answers. Like, I was really, really bad. And normally, like, it was like basically a normal dungeon. I was dying in a normal dungeon. I was beyond embarrassed in front of this lead developer. And he's like, yeah, okay, you've been doing mythic, how much gold did you pay for those, mythic carries? And eventually we got to talking about my corrupted Ashbringer. He's like, oh, and his eyes gleamed and lit up. You have a corrupted Ashbringer, the original one? Did you know it talks to him? Like, yeah. No, listen, I've had the old school one, the only one that never dropped on the server. And so I'm sure we could have chatted, for an hour later about my corrupted Ashbringer and, the old school stuff and him playing. But it was good. It was a great interview, and yeah, it was awesome.
So what were some of the questions you asked?
Obviously, the two most important questions were bees going to be a mount, because I'm pretty sure you had that one, and I promised to put that one in for you.
Yay!
So yeah, bees are going to be the mount. Great. The other one, which one of my friends and guildies sort of laughed at, was like, I like how the first question you asked the developer was a question for himself that he had to think of that he's never been asked before. And it's sort of this convoluted way of saying, well, what is one question you would like to be asked that has never been asked of you yet? And it's sort of like, when you phrase it, it's a little silly, but we wanted them to sort of tell us about something that people haven't asked you about yet, right? Something that you're really passionate about, the next expansion or whatever. And so it came across, a little weirdly, but, it was great. It was a great interview. He was awesome. You know, we had matching Battle for Azeroth shirts, and he was a great guy to hang out with for the couple of days too.
Well, and Tally came in and got you through your. You didn't heal him though, Sparty.
I
You let
tried, and
Tally.
again, my
You
things were
let
not set
Tally.
up. I should have gone red or something. Honestly, I should have just gone red. I didn't even have talents for half the thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should have talents. Like, again, embarrassed in front of Morgan Day, he must have thought I was some giant noob, right? And you know, he hangs out with guys like he knows guys like Sloopbag really well, and you know, high end mythic raiders. I'm like, listen, I've done some high end mythic raiding too over the past 13, 14 years, right? Like some top world rankings. I'm normally not this bad, and I'm very adamant to you guys as viewers, I'm not that bad, right? Just wait till we start doing these again, or I'll do some high-end mythic pluses and show you. But still, Tal didn't have talents either. That's fine, then I don't feel so bad. We're fine.
It was awesome. Well, and there were some really good interviews and questions.
Yep.
By the way, as far as the bees go, MMO Champion has shown the 3B models.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to see what they are. They are definitely coming out as mounts.
Mm-hmm.
Both MMO and Wowhead had some excellent coverage of all of the interviews if you want to see
For
the
sure.
questions and the answers, because there was an interview with Slew, we had Swifty, we had Final
Mm-hmm.
Boss TV. Who's Shaq News? I hadn't heard of him.
I can't recall. I'm not sure.
I like to put you on the spot like that.
Thanks. Thanks.
That's what you get for not getting me an alliance pin.
So one of the coolest things from the interviews that was actually not meant to be released, and they're gonna get, or they got in trouble by Watcher, was basically, you know how we talked about personal loot and we've gone back and forth, and one of the biggest arguments against personal loot is, hey, you know, I'm a, I don't know, let's say I'm a rogue, and Draft of Souls drops for me, and for my spec it's really shitty, but for this Fury Warrior it's friggin' godly. Sorry, Fury Warrior buddy, I can't trade it to you because it's an upgrade for me technically, right? Like it's a 2 item level upgrade, whatever it is, but I can't trade it. So there's two things to that. Number one that they revealed was that trinkets like that will not scale with your abilities. We will not ever have another situation where we have a crazy OP trinket that scales with certain abilities and, you know, is that good. So that's point number one. Point number two, and this is something that I chatted with them offline. Well, what if, you know, I could trade an item, you know, yes, keep it in personal loot, whatever, but what about like a 5 item level difference, right? Is that something that they're open to? And they said, oh yeah, that's a great idea. They're going to look into it, right? So that's something that may happen. We'll see what happens with personal loot. We'll see what tweaks they make and how it develops, because a lot of the loot systems have developed over time. But yeah, again, that is one big option that that they have, right? So just allowing to trade things within a couple of item levels, and if they're an upgrade for you or not. You know, if it's 5 item level upgrade for me, yeah, it might be an upgrade, but it might be a really big upgrade for Midget instead of, you know, Sparty. So that might be the option to go with as well.
Well, unless it's the High Fathers, and all of those go to me. I'm still mad you got that.
Of course, or Shaman ults.
Hey, one of your viewers just asked, do you think we should be allowed to trade bonus roll loot? I'm curious on that too.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that bonus roll loot should be inherently given to you. It's your own bonus roll, rather than adding an additional currency and like, hey guys, you know, let's say Innkeeper, you're doing a boss that has a really good trinket, right? Well, guess what? Every paladin, every priest, every shaman, we need to give our healers this trinket. I want all of you to set your loot spec as your healer spec, and then I need you guys to use your bonus roll on this boss because our healers need that trinket. You get into a lot of, you know, really weird situations with guilds like that. I don't think so. I don't think that'll ever change. Personal loot is what they feel is going to be best for the game. And that's fine. Again, the loot systems have changed over the years, right? There's no more round robin. Need Before Greed has sort of, you know, gone away. Master loot has changed over the years as well. And that master loot change was, again, generally for the better. And again, people, you know, needed some time to adapt to it.
Well, proof positive that none of us do change well.
That's right.
Hey, one other thing that I know you did quite a bit of while you were at PAX was you spent a lot of time with the starting zone. Want to share a little bit
Yeah.
about
Oh
that?
man, that's of course something we should cover. So Spencer and Shield Wall from the Starting Zone, which are one of my biggest inspirations for doing this podcast because they run the World of Warcraft podcast, and a lot of great content, great interviews. Holy crap! If you guys haven't heard the profiles they've done on Taryn Gregory, is it Gary Planter, Gary something, and there was one other one they had done. The profiles are friggin' amazing. Great podcast. Check them out. I mean, they're probably where we get a lot of our viewers from, so people already know this. But yeah, amazing. It was a really good. We talked a lot of shop in terms of, well, Sparty needs this gear or this mixer or this microphone, and this kind of setup will make you sound better. And this is how, technically they do their stuff, and it was really cool. It was a really good insight to how professional podcasts actually work. And we have great content on our stream, and we've got some great voices, but our production values are still very low budget, and that's fine, right? I'm okay with that. But I don't know, it was great. It was great to chat with those guys. We had a lot of good chats in the evenings. I guess the only miss was a couple of my guildies were there. We never sort of connected at the right time. It would have been awesome to hang out and grab a beer with those guys too.
Well, I'm glad you have a good time. Do you have any other thoughts about PAX or these community events or things that you'd like to share?
Yeah, and that sort of goes to our sort of last and Sparty's segment, Sparty's soapbox is these kind of events for all of you that go to them, whether they be Dragon Cons or PAX or BlizzCons or Twitch Cons, they're all essentially community building events, right? Yes, there's plenty of media exposure and there's great opportunities and that kind of stuff. But even for the average person, even for someone like me who is, that typical B-level content creator, meeting friends, making new friends, and, and that kind of stuff really brings excitement to different facets of the game. It's great to really learn more about Warcraft. It's great to meet the people behind the scenes. I truly felt, humbled and I appreciated so much that they brought me down and flew me down for this event. I mean, it was my first one, and I don't know, might be one of my last ones. I have no idea, right? Like it was a great opportunity, and you never want to squander the opportunities that you do have, whether it's in a guild or it's in life or whatever, right? If something is handed to you, you take it and you say thank you and you go from there. But again, I mean, it was awesome. It was a great opportunity. Great to meet a lot of new people and different streamers and just chat with people. It was awesome. And hopefully going to the next conventions, next BlizzCons, the next, guild gatherings that we have, they'll continue to build on those, right? We want to continue building our community, continue growing our community, cultivating the right kind of atmosphere. And, a lot of the guys that I see on stream, I'd love to, again, meet in person. Met plenty of viewers as well, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. Super thankful to Blizzard for having me go down there. It was great.
Well, and I think you guys all did, from Sloot to Swifty, did a great job of showing Warcraft and the passion that we have for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love Blizzard games in general, is because they really work with the community and bring them out. I mean, the MDIs, all of these people, they pull people out of the community so that we all get to know each other and we continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great thing. And I know from watching your coverage of PAX that it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed your interview with Morgan Day, probably just because you died.
Oh my God, I will be forever embarrassed about that interview, and I would have loved to have my keybind set up and impress this guy, and yeah, I don't know, no excuses. Should have been a little bit better prepared. I mean, it was great. It was a great interaction between me and him, and lessons learned, right? There's always lessons learned in everything. Right? You make mistakes, you move on, and you improve. But it was an awesome experience. But no, that's great. That is, and I think that's going to wrap up our show for this evening. Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you guys have suggestions, questions, ideas, we've got a couple of really good shows lined up. I think we're going to have Starting Zone as a guest, Sloopbag soon, who's finally agreed to be on our show, as well as a couple of other people. So we're excited to have a couple new episodes coming up. Again, join us every Sunday, 10:30 Eastern, for our weekly Best in Slot podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night. Be excellent to each other. And as always, live your life heroically.